And that takes us to our last album of the evening.
That's right.
Matt, you both say the numbers and start, right, with the first take?
Yeah, so this is hold on one second. Let's pull it up here. So Echo and the Bunnymen. I keep saying Bunnymen. Is it Bunnymen or Bunnymen? I don't know. I don't know how
What?
people
Bunnymen.
Bunnymen. I'm saying, but you see, I'm saying Bunnymen or Bunnymen. I'm like, where's the emphasis on the
It's
syllable?
pluralized because there's multiple
yeah,
men.
I think it's
so men.
multiple bunnymen.
Bunnymen. Echo and the Bunnymen. Anyway.
Well, like a bunnyman would be one bunny man, right? But bunny men is
Bunny
multiple
man,
bunny men.
not
yeah.
bunny. Anyway,
Yeah, bunny
anyway,
man plural.
Bunnymans. Ocean Rain comes in at number 62 in the 1980s on Best Ever Albums, number 13 in 1984, number 449 of all time. It is Echo and the Bunnymen's highest rated album on Best Ever Albums. It did not make Rolling Stone's list, and they come in at number 244 of all time in the Best Ever Albums rankings. And this is the second time we're covering them in second time in a row. And I like this quite a bit, though I think I don't like it as much as Porcupine. I think this album has, I think overall the sound of this is definitely like a lighter sound than Porcupine. It's Porcupine I think was a little bit more of a, we kind of said it was a little bit of like a Phil Spector Wall of Sound kind of thing. It was a darker sounding, a little bit more ominous type of record. This is lighter, which I guess I wasn't expecting. And so I'm also seeing elements of like U2. I'm definitely hearing early U2 and some songs on this. But to me, there were a couple of songs on here that I thought not so much, like especially probably three in particular. I thought Nocturnal Me, The Yo-Yo Man, and Thorn of Crowns were a little bit harder to get into.
Thorn of Crowns sounded like Suicide, didn't it?
That would explain why I didn't like it as much.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's why I was wondering if you didn't like it.
That tracks. It just I don't know. That seemed like a little bit more. That in particular seemed a little bit more like of an artistic showcase rather than like a song traditional song structure type song. Ocean Rain was there's a lot of orchestra on this as well. They kind of carrying on with that and Ocean Rain. That's the song more so than anything we've done this week or these albums. That's the one that probably benefited from having the extra week to listen to, because I like that more this week than I did last week. And
that particular song, you mean?
That particular song, yeah. But I thought that I thought the Killing Moon I knew from Rock Band, playing that with you guys, and so that's a cool sounding song. But like Seven Seas, My Kingdom, there's some more upbeat songs on here. It starts with a pretty good song with Silver, and I think they're definitely incorporating a lot more variety. There's more variety in this record, and it's like I said, it's probably an easier listen to just because it's not as dark, I would say. Having said that, I found probably Porcupine a little bit more consistent for me. I just overall I don't remember hearing any songs on that record that I disliked, but yeah, there were a couple of ones on here. About a third of this record I was a little bit meh on, and so that with a record that's only 9 tracks long, that kind of tempered my my enjoyment overall. But it does finish pretty well, I think, and there's enough interesting pieces here to keep me going. But yeah, I think the U2 thing, that was the one that stood out the most to me, that I was hearing, some of that influence and maybe a little bit of like a Smith's Cure kind of thing going on as well in different parts. Again, you're getting more of an echoey production, a very, there's the production here is pretty good. And so I liked it. I was a little down. I was thinking I was going to like it more because I liked Porcupine so much, and this one was a higher rated album, so I was expecting to like this more. So I think that expectation was not met, so that made me like it a little bit less than maybe I would have had I had no expectations. So, but overall, still a thumbs up on it. It's still a pretty solid record for me.
Yeah, am I next or you next, Josh?
I can't remember. Go ahead.
John is next.
Okay, I think last week I said there was a piece that was missing for me in Porcupine, and this album had it. This was where the sound of the band, I think, met what is appealing to my ears. So yeah. I like this one quite a bit. It's funny you mentioned Nocturnal Me, Matt. I really liked Nocturnal Me as a song. I thought it was like a really high end. A lot of these songs read to me like if you took goth and you kind of made it like the sound of goth, right? But you made it sort of more upbeat and
Yes.
pop structured.
That's a
Would
good
be
way
how
to
I would,
put it.
yeah, how I would describe it. And so there was a goth vibe, but it was almost like if you had a gothic view, but then sunlight entered your life. There's exceptions. Like The Killing Moon is a very, very dark song, thematically and lyrically. But like I felt like this was where they let in some light, and I really think that Echo and the Bunnymen sound benefits from that little bit of light being brought into it. Matt mentioned Thorn of Crowns, and my notes were they clearly listened to Suicide self-titled because that could have been on the Suicide album. It was the same sort of aesthetic that they're going for there. But I liked the build and the pop nature of this album. And if you had told me it's going to be Echo and the Bunnymen, but like a poppier sounding version of it, I'd be like, oh, I don't know how that's going to sound. But it really was the piece that I felt was missing. I felt like I guess I would describe it as almost like orchestral first half of the album.
Mhm.
It was like lush in many ways, and I think in the earlier album we did, Porcupine, the production and the sound and the wall of guitars kind of was what provided the sound, whereas in this one it was like a more orchestral, crescendo-y sound
Mhm.
that built to it. Dare I say at times almost like floral sounding. And yeah, I really like this one, and there's some really solid lyrics on this too. And it vacillates between upbeat and love songs into some dark ones as well. And so it
Yeah.
kind of seemed thematically that it was about, I felt like the ups and downs of being in love, kind of, which is also a very gothic theme when you think about it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I keep waiting for Lips Like Sugar to show up on one of these albums too. So I wonder what album that is, because that's the other Echo and the Bunnymen song I always think of, and I'm like, wow, I'm surprised it wasn't on either of these albums. But I guess maybe it comes later. But yeah, thumbs up for me on this one.
Yeah, let me. Just to clarify, I think you bring out Nocturnal Me. I think it's one of those songs where the verses where I thought I kind of liked. I thought the chorus did me in though. The chorus I thought was a letdown. So I thought that one I liked, probably of the three that I mentioned that I didn't like. That one I probably liked the most. But it was okay. I was like, the chorus kind of let me down.
It's
on
got a
that,
very
so.
epic feel, the Nocturnal.
Yeah,
Me,
it's just
like
I thought
bit
I thought the
dramatic
chorus was
tension.
just. Yes, I would say that, but I don't know. The chorus didn't fulfill that tension the way that I felt maybe it should have. So that's probably the reason I didn't like that as much. But anyway, Josh.
Yeah, I was pretty high on Porcupine, and I'm high on this album. I feel like John said it correctly. It finds some sort of balance, I think, in its tone and mood. It does sound more uplifting or more positive. It does go back and forth between. It still has that darkness to it, but it's like John said, it's like a goth person that's a positive goth person, or not morose or something. I don't know. Like
Positive goth.
Has mood swings. I
Yeah.
think was how I described,
Yeah,
as opposed to just
bipolar.
bleak, which was how I
Bipolar
described
goth.
Porcupine. Was like it was not an album I did not like. It was just I thought it was a very bleak sounding album,
Yeah.
whereas this one had way more. The right amount of bleakness for me,
Yeah.
balanced with some other,
Yeah.
which I needed, I think,
Yeah, and it still carries over that full production. It's got the string. I really like their use of strings on this album. I like that orchestral sound. It does add to this kind of epic feeling that you guys mentioned. There is some like Middle Eastern type of sounds that have carried over also that they continue to use. I think that works really well. I feel like there's some sort of psychedelic guitar work on here.
Yes.
Maybe
Yep.
some jangle guitar almost on Silver that I heard. I couldn't place it, but it sounded different than
I agree.
the
There's a little
previous
bit of a
album.
Birds thing going on there, I would say. Yeah.
Or like an REM maybe in some ways. Not like comparable for sure, but some element there that I'm picking up on.
No, I don't think that's especially like Fables of the Reconstruction REM, which sadly is one of the few REM albums from the 80s we're not covering, but there's a darkness to that album too that meets you there. Killing Moon,
Yeah.
could be repurposed as an REM song when you really think about it in some ways. So
yeah, the lead singer has this kind of almost, I don't know, this lounge singer vibe to him, or delivery, but it's also kind of big and soaring at times too. That really works with me. That kind of whole feel of this really works. It's an interesting comparison and contrast, because you've kind of got these big elements in the strings and stuff contrasting with kind of the dark nature of the sounds and the dark, like, delivery of, or the dark lyrics or content on something like Killing Moon, and that seems to really work for me on this. I thought the album,
you know who it reminds me a little bit of, Josh? Thinking of that, the Psychedelic Furs.
Yes,
I felt like it was similar to, it was, you know what I mean? I felt like this one kind of veered more into that, whereas the earlier one was more, I described as industrial, but I think that was more just because of the coldness of it.
Yeah.
Did you hear that at all, or am I?
Yeah,
nuts?
definitely. I think there's more warmth to this album if we're gonna try and, get away, or I wouldn't describe this as industrial in the way that I think you
nor would
like to use it. And the album was strong throughout, and I feel like it had this underlying through line of it, like John said, about maybe love or something broader like life, struggles, and I don't know, it thematically it seemed to have some sort of through line that I picked up on, and I thought it was, it's great, it's good, it's very good to great.
Pretty good.
They are definitely doing something that's different than the other bands at this time. If they're lumped in with the post-punk, I think the strings are the main thing that sticks out, but they have this kind of full sound that's not a lot of other bands are doing.
Yep, it's listed as post-punk, new wave, and neo-psychedelia.
Wow, neo-psychedelia, nice.
I don't hear the new wave in it as much, but definitely
either.
I could hear the psychedelia, especially the last album. I think I even mentioned that there were psychedelic elements to it, and I definitely think that goth has to be brought into this, because I think this shares quite a bit with what early Cure and Bauhaus and bands like that are doing. But
do you guys pick up a little Doors too, maybe, with the neo-psychedelia?
Yeah.
Like Thorn of Crowns, I feel like could be a Morrison play on words or something.
Well, and remember, I said Jim Morrison was
Lizard King.
Yeah.
Jim Morrison was a huge influence.
Oh, okay.
For the lead singer too. Yeah, so that's you're right on to something right there. So, but thumbs up for this one. This one was, to me, a step forward from Porcupine, for sure. Which one does Best Ever Albums think is there?
Oh, it's this one. Yeah, this is the one.
This one. Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
okay,
and we should have technically covered this as the bio album, but it was one of those things where we had to change it around a bit to keep it more sequential.
Yep.
So, but this is the highest. Porcupine was the fourth highest, so there's two sandwiched in between, which includes 81's Heaven Up Here and 1980's Crocodiles.
So earlier ones. Okay.
Earlier ones, yeah. So we're not covering those. And the one that you talked about, John, that has the that song. What was the song that said?
Lips Like Sugar, which is, to me, their big hit. Yeah.
That's from 1987's Echo and the Bunnymen.
It's from
self-titled.
Yeah. So obviously I didn't like that album as much, but that song Lips Like Sugar is great. Do you guys know that song?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Probably.
Yeah.
I just don't know it off the top of my head.
Yeah, I think you guys like it. It's good stuff. So